Hi, welcome to the second episode of Cowboys and in the Footballing Show. On today's episode, we've got a special guest, which we'll get to. But first, I'd like to introduce our residents, the singing cowboy himself, Dougie. And welcome back, Stuart. Thank you for coming today. Really appreciate it. How are you feeling?
Fine, mate. Fine. Yeah,
Right.
You know what my problem was while weren't on the first one. So
yeah, and we're really pleased, mate. Really pleased that you're here today as well. Because I need to keep Dougie in check, you see. He just got a bit out of control last time. It was just me on my own. And our special guest today is Charlie. Charlie, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Nice to meet you all.
Great. Really pleased that you're here. Charlie's a Man United supporter, but he's also Dougie's son. So
poor Charlie.
Poor Charlie. So, and Dougie, what are you doing? Where did you go wrong? But anyways, let's get to that question. So, Charlie, how on earth did you get tricked into being a Man United supporter, having been born and brought up in London?
Well, my dad did take me over West Ham when he could. If anyone remembers from early 90s, they wasn't very good. But I did actually say to him as a kid, I was like, oh, why do you only bring me when West Ham lose? But my stepdad, he's a Man United fan. But he doesn't watch anyone else apart from Man United. So whenever, I am a bit obsessed with football. I watch any football. But, if there was Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, Arsenal, he wouldn't watch it. He would only watch Man United. So whenever I got to watch football, which was only on Sky at the time, wasn't it? Or if you had cable, I would watch this team who would be winning a lot. And, kind of just got converted.
Oh,
It's stayed ever since.
You had the Alex Ferguson years, didn't you?
Yeah.
I did,
Prime time. And what was that first game, Charlie, that your dad took you to at West Ham?
Oh, he took me when I was... I couldn't even remember. It was...
Well, that's how bad it was then. Come on, so...
He was only two. He was only two.
Oh, okay. All right. You got to remember that. Yeah, you got to remember that.
Yeah.
But, and Dougie, you got any feedback on where you think you might have... You could have.
Yeah, I think a lot of kids, the more the sport. I go back to what we said about Sky, didn't I? The more it became popular and there was more, it was on the telly. Then the more teams won. You seem to see certain kids wear certain shirts, like you see a lot more City shirts now, didn't you? And I'm quite sure when Arsenal was popular. I mean, who was the most popular team when you was at school, Charlie? Who had the most shirts?
Arsenal. It was Arsenal. I mean, although I went to primary school and secondary school in East London, Arsenal dominated. You had a couple of West Ham, couple of Tottenham, not many Chelsea, couple of Liverpool, couple of Man United, but it always seemed to be the majority was Arsenal, even in East London. So, yeah.
Strange.
Well, when I grew up in the 70s, and most of family and friends were Liverpool or. And then obviously going into the 80s, all become Man United. They all switched and became Man United fans because they were very fickle. But the school I went to, we were all hardcore West Ham. Everyone was West Ham. If you didn't support West Ham, you got beaten up, basically. When it was allowed in school, it was called they just toughen you up if you supported the wrong team.
We used to throw kids out in the school pond if they didn't support West Ham.
And that was last week when it's you. But yeah, it was that's the beauty of I think of football when we were kids. It was, even as kids, it gave you that belonging when you were and you're part of that group. And I remember playing football in the mornings and at lunch and at break times. And you all were one of the players. You were all one of the heroes, whether it's a Brooking or a Jeff Pike or whoever.
It's quite funny you say that, Tone, because when I remember being a kid, and if there was 4-on-4 or 3-on-3, and they said, "Oh, we're West Ham," and we'd say, "Okay, then we'd be Arsenal." For whatever reason, you always knew all the players of certain teams, and you'd be 3 players. I'd say, for instance, like in my area, I'd be Rashford, McClintock, and Rice for Arsenal, and that. But I did always remember the names of the teams of all the players in all the teams years ago, whereas now I couldn't tell you the names of the players in like the Liverpool team who are top of the league. I couldn't do it. Where probably Charlie watches a lot more football than me, so he probably could.
Which sort of brings us on to the next question, really, and it follows on from the first episode, where the good, the bad, and ugly episode, where the bad was Man United. But Charlie, where do you think? Oh, hang on. Where do you think we've gone wrong? Where do you think? Well, not we. Where do you think Man United's? Where do you think it's gone wrong?
Oh, where to start? How long you got, really?
Well, to help you, mate, I put three little hints up on the screen.
Oh, it goes way back, way further than them, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, you think the money we've spent since Ferguson left on players that just haven't worked. It's been rotten to the core, really, and eventually it streamed over onto the pitch. We've had a couple of successes, nothing like it was, obviously. I mean, at the moment, it's a hard watch, really is. It's very similar to almost under Ten Hag. Like, one week we look like a team, and then next week it's like they've chose 11 people at the stadium to come down and gone, you can play for us this week, because it's like they don't know each other. It's awful. Go from like 1 week you look like, I mean, look at the FA Cup final. We were brilliant. And then, but a couple of weeks before that, we got absolutely annihilated by Crystal Palace. And we thought bringing in a manager, new manager would change things. I mean, you can talk to me all you want about new formations and ideas and philosophies, but again, same problems. Too open in the midfield, don't create enough chances. We don't look like we know what we're doing tactically. It's very. There's not many performances where you can say it's been that different than it was under Ten Hag at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's a toss up, really, isn't it? Is the issues on the pitch or off the pitch, or is it the issues off the pitch which are affecting what's going on with game to game? I mean, you got Amorim now. You must be a little. It's going to take time. New manager coming in with such a not behavioural issues, but you got morale issues and so on. But do you think Amorim will? What do you think of him as a manager?
Well, he's very young, isn't he? I think he's only about 2 years older than me. But if you look what he did at Sporting, you've got to give it time. But then, when we got Ten Hag, he was the number one thing. He was like the highly rated manager, and he abandoned his philosophy after 2 games, didn't he, Ten Hag? But Amorim, he's sticking to his guns. I think he is looking a bit stressed as time goes on. I don't think he realizes just how bad we're going to be. I think he'll get it right, but again, you need to give him time. But that's one thing managers don't have these days, is it? Time. No. What's the average life of a Premier League manager? 2 seasons?
3 a couple of years, isn't it? Two and a half years, I think.
Is he going to get that time? Who knows? But then again, you kind of stuck with who else you're going to bring in. So so many things. Again, they're talking about we need a massive clear out. They said the same when Ten Hag come in. I think he got rid of like 17, 18 players. So what, you need to get rid of another 17, 18 players? And again, look back. Every player we've bought has not really done much.
No. And you've overpaid on lots of players. It's not been.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Every Premier League club overpays.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to another, I mean, look at West Ham at the moment. They're trying to sign John Duran, 57 million for a guy who's not actually Aston Villa's number one striker. But that's what happens when you want to buy another player from the Premier League. And if you go abroad, they know where the money is. So every player is an extra 20, 30 million to what they should be.
Isn't it? It's just
look at what we pay for Fulkrug,
Yeah.
27,
disastrous. Absolutely disastrous.
But then I guess, with Fulkrug, he was part of a Dortmund team that got to the Champions League final.
Yeah.
I mean, so you can kind of go with that. But with Anthony, I mean, apparently our scout said he was a £25 million player, and yet we paid £90 million for him. So,
yeah, absolutely. He's gone now, isn't he? He's been loaned out, correct?
He's been loaned out to Betis for the rest of the season. I think a week left to see if we can find somewhere for Rashford. But then you've got to get 2 players in. We can't, what we're going to do, rely on Ahmad all season.
Yeah, absolutely.
My bugbear, Charlie, my bugbear with a lot of these, I can't stand inverted wingers. I don't know where this thing's come from. But Anthony's problem, if you're going to play him as they was playing him as a right winger, he always wanted to cut in. And when he used to cut in Anthony, very rarely he would pass it. He's a bit like Jared Bowen. If you look a lot when Jared Bowen cuts in, he very rarely, if he can, he won't pass it. He'll try and cut in and he'll shoot. And that's what Anthony done. And I just think he got sussed out quite early and people knew he was going to cut in. I can't understand why they didn't give him a go on the left. Because deep down, I don't think he's an £80 million player, but I don't think he's a bad player.
I thought he was a good player, Anthony. I think there's a good player in there. He just needs playing in the right position.
I agree.
I think this is the problem with today's football in a way, isn't it? If you're left-footed, you've got to play on the right. If you're right-footed, you've got to play on the left as a forward. Yeah. I mean, I grew up in the 90s. If you were left-footed, you played left midfield. If you were right-footed, you played right midfield. Your job, but everyone played 4-4-2, didn't they? And your job as a winger was to get up and down that line and assist the 2 strikers. Whereas now, everyone plays a 4-3-3, and your job is really to score more goals than it is really to assist. If you think, you look at the top strikers around in the 90s, they would probably struggle to score goals now because these wide players are a lot more greedy than the natural wings were. Giggs and Beckham never had really good goal scoring records because that's not what their job was. And you've got to think now, all they do is now like Anthony. I mean, Anthony is a poor man's Arjen Robben, isn't he? Arjen Robben used to cut in and curl it in, but Arjen Robben was world class at it. Whereas Anthony, he hit rosette most of the time.
But I think it's been like that a lot. I mean, when I was growing up, when I was a kid playing football, school football or whatever, I'm right-footed, but I always played left back. Yeah, I was right-footed.
Dennis Irwin.
So I think it's always been done.
I'm not being funny, guys. We're not being paid. I'm not going to go for Rashford. They reckon the average wage in the Premier is around about 80,000. It comes. I looked up. It's about 80,000. Are you telling me these players, when they're coming through now, yes, you're going to be predominantly right-footed, and if you are a right-footed player, but you should be able to kick with your left foot. I remember when Sven-Goran Eriksson was in charge of England, and we just could not find anybody that he could play on the left. And in the end, he played Paul Scholes. And Paul Scholes said, "No, I'm not playing football now. I don't want to play international football no more because you're not playing me on the left." And I think we ended up playing Joe Cole. But you're talking about people on £100,000 a week. Can't kick with both feet. It's just becoming preposterous. I looked at young Cliver yesterday at Bournemouth. He hit a cracker of a goal. His first goal, I do think Forrest kept backing off, and they give him room to shoot. But if you look at his second goal, he goes down the left wing, cuts in on his left foot, and then chips it up on his right foot. And that's what these players of today should be doing. You shouldn't be predominantly one-footed, but I just don't like inverted wingers. It's a bugbear of mine at the moment. And if you're going to have a big centre half like West Ham when they bought Fulkrug, you've got to put balls on his head. He's not an Ollie Watkins where you can play it to his feet. And that's the problem at the moment, is all the ball is rush through the floor. And if you ain't got someone that can control the ball and play it with their feet, then they've got no chance. The old-fashioned centre number 9, is gone. It's dead in the water until other teams play a different system.
Yeah, you got Chris Wood. He's sort of like he's an old-fashioned number 9, isn't he? I know he didn't have a good game yesterday, but up until yesterday, he's been banging them in every single game.
14 goals.
Yeah,
14 this season. Yeah.
But then you got.
I mean, we would love somebody like that up front for us. At the moment.
Charlie, you're just saying something there. Sorry, mate.
Oh yeah, I think Forest played to his strengths, don't they?
Yeah,
that's what you got to do when you have that kind of striker. Yeah. When we bought Ruud van Nistelrooy, we changed the way we played. We was a title-winning team, and we changed the way we played to get the best out of Ruud van Nistelrooy. But teams don't want to play that. Teams are always adamant about playing out from the back these days, aren't they? And you look at Firmino, look at Klopp. Firmino wasn't the main focal point. He was there to kind of get the best out of Salah and Mane, not to be that pivotal goal scorer.
Yeah. And Charlie, funny you should say that because yesterday I was watching the City game against who did they?
Chelsea.
Oh, Chelsea.
Yeah.
That's it.
Chelsea.
Haaland's goal, goalkeeper's kick.
That was
But
good.
you know, because you could see every time City was trying to play the ball out, they were getting rushed by the Chelsea players, and it was sideways, backwards, sideways, and then all they done was a goalkeeper's kick.
Well,
and then
Edison got the assist for that goal, didn't he?
He did, didn't he,
got
Stuart?
the
Yeah.
assist, yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now, we'll take the conversation in a different direction at this stage, and it's really a question for Stuart and Dougie. Did it when you in your earlier days? Did you used to? Do you ever go to Old Trafford
Yeah,
to watch any games?
loads of times.
No,
I went loads of times. Yeah.
Any memories?
Yeah, we went up once and we got in the scoreboard. And we went with a school earlier. I went to St Bernard's in Bethnal Green, and the school took us up on the school bus the first time, and then we started going up on our own. And everyone went the two ends at Man U was the Stretford end and the scoreboard end, didn't we? And we thought we're going the scoreboard end. At that point, you could go anywhere in the country and get a ticket and just walk it. You just paid in at the turnstile.
Mm.
I remember we went in and we sat down, and underneath the bottom part of the scoreboard, then there was a quadrant where all the West Ham fans was, and we was at the top bit. And I'm quite sure, I think it was Mervyn Day saved the penalty. And it was only about 4 of it. We all jumping around and they was all giving us the eyes at the Stratford end. And at half time, we jumped down the aisle where everyone was flobbing on the West Ham fans down where they was getting their thing. But yeah, went up there loads of times. Nice ground. Not as noisy as I thought it would, because that's another story, loud grounds. But been up there quite a few times.
No, I've only got up there once and never got into the ground. Was put back on the train and sent back to London.
I wonder why, Stu. Where was that? In the 80s? So it was probably in the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
You did the tour up there, Charlie, didn't you? And there was you could kick a ball, couldn't you, and see if you could get anywhere near Paul Scholes had the hardest shot, didn't they, at one point up there?
Yeah, you could see how close you got to all the players that had the hardest shot. Yeah, it's quite good.
Had a good left foot, Charlie, in the day.
So as we're going from being a little bit more nostalgic, obviously there's been a lot of trade between the two clubs. We have players play for both teams. Any standouts that have played for both teams? Stuart, any thoughts? Any players that you know? I mean, actually, I won't mention one at the moment, but go for it, Stuart. Who's your favourite to play for both?
No, not really. No real standouts,
What do you think of Wan-Bissaka then? You like him?
I like him, but to me, it's still too early to tell.
Yeah.
I mean, because under Lopetegui, he was being played as a wing back, and he's not a wing back. He's a defender. He's a right back. So I want to see what Potter's going to do with him when Potter gets his team.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him as a wing back because I think as a wing back, it's going to be wasted. He's a right back, and that's what he is. He's a good defender. Don't want him going forward. I don't want him crossing the halfway line, to be honest.
Well, we got caught out a few times this season already, haven't we?
Yeah.
Dougie?
Yeah, I mean, there's loads. I wrote a list down earlier on, the ones I could remember, which were Evra, Ferdinand, Carrick, Ince, Roy Carroll, Luke Chadwick, Paul Ince, Fernandez, Lingard, Teddy, Spector, Tevez, Wan-Bissaka, and Ravel Morrison. I think Ravel Morrison could have been anything he wanted to be, but my standout, a bit controversial, a lot of West Ham fans didn't like him, was Paul Ince. And Charlie has sent me his favourite 11 earlier on, and he didn't have Paul Ince in it, and he didn't have Ryan Giggs in it. But I think he was the mainstay of that team, very underrated, as was Park, who I think was very underrated. But a little known fact about Paul Ince, well, come what happened with his transfer, why a lot of West Hams didn't like him. A lot of them got rolled, but he actually failed his medical at Man United, believe it or not, Paul Ince. And Ambrose Mendy was his agent, and he flew over a specialist, I think it was from somewhere in Europe, and he went, I'm going to foul when they was putting him about. So Ambrose Mendy got in the bed, and he took the medical for Paul Ince, and the bloke who, the physio, whoever it was who come, didn't know there was a difference between Ambrose Mendy and Paul Ince. Hence, otherwise the medical would have fouled in Paul Ince signing for Man United.
Blimey.
Yeah, run another rubbish fact. Yeah. How about yours, Charlie?
Well, I think Rio Ferdinand is always a big one for us. You know, what a signing he turned out to be. It was quite. I mean, he went from West Ham to Leeds, didn't he? Which even then was like big money. And then you know,
15 million, wasn't it? I think something like that.
18, was it?
18.
And then he went
18, because Redknapp always likes to remind everyone when that Terence Brand just kept all the money and gave him 3 the next season. Goes, look, here's your 3 million from the sales of Ferdinand, and that's obviously the downfall when he quit West Ham at that point. I don't blame him.
12 seasons at the top, though, Ferdinand had at Man U. I think we had him for 6 seasons. I watched him play in the Youth Cup final when we had Joe Cole, Frankie Lamps, Carrick. We lost 4-1 at home. Michael, it's the first time I ever see Michael Owen when he was about 15, 16, and he scored an hat-trick against us. But, goodbye. I think he's more of a Man U fan now than he is a West Ham fan, isn't he, Ferdinand? But, good shout out there, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, I know he went to City in the end, but I'm a Carlos Tevez as a footballer. Was always a good one of mine. Oh, that front three, Rooney, Tevez, Ronaldo. What I wouldn't give to have that back again, you know.
You mentioned Charlie. You mentioned Tevez here. A question for Stuart and Dougie. Who was the manager when Tevez and Mascherano came to?
Harry. It was Harry,
It
was under the Icelandics, wasn't it?
Yeah, was it Kirbishley?
Must have been, wasn't it? No, can't be Curbs, was it?
I think it
was. Was it Pardew?
Pardew, wasn't it?
But he didn't even play.
Later on.
I think you're right. It's Pardew. He never played them. He didn't play them. He's like, I don't know who these players are. They've just been thrown upon me. And like, and it just went on to having amazing careers. But
Tevez went to Liverpool, ended up being captain of Argentina and pivotal in Barcelona, didn't he? You know, Tevez in his first season, Tevez with us won the Premier League and Champions League. Went on to do well at City, didn't he? Yeah, I think I heard a story once that the only reason Kirbishley started playing him was because the West Ham fans kept singing his name.
Yeah,
so they could bring him off the bench.
Yeah, it was Mascherano. It never got played. He was shipped out.
Played Hayden Mullins instead of Mascherano, didn't he? I think.
Yeah.
We had Shevchenko down there at one point. Rebrov, I think Rebrov ended up going to Tottenham, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I think out of them players that were mentioned just now, I mean, my greatest loss really was Carrick when he went.
Yeah. Painful.
I didn't like to see him go.
I think you got relegated. I think he got sold to Tottenham for like 2 million, didn't he, Carrick? It was really cheap.
Yeah. That was a heartache that season, Charlie. We lost all of our academy. All the greats.
I think is that not considered the best team to be relegated, that West Ham
side?
Yeah,
we had the highest points tally ever. I think, was it 42 or something like that?
42, yeah. 42.
No one's ever gone down on that many points since.
Yeah, gutted.
Sinclair, Canio, Defoe.
Yeah. Joe Cole.
Went to Tottenham, didn't he, as well?
Glenn Johnson
went to Chelsea, didn't he? Joe Cole, Chelsea. Yeah.
Pickings. We were up for the pickings. We just got raped. They just took all the other teams. Just took them.
I'll tell you who loved Tevez, Tom. Sheffield United fan loved Tevez. They love him up there.
No. Hang on, Dougie. Neil Warnock loves Tevez.
Oh, even the Burger Man sued him.
Fucking hell. I could stand that guy, you know. But he had so much grief at that point, trying to take points off us or get us relegated and so on. But
I think it cost them 30 million, West Ham, in the end.
It did, didn't
it? 30? I thought it was closer to 50. I can't remember.
Well, the thing is, when he left West Ham, we got him on a 2-year loan, but it wasn't from West Ham, was it? It was from the company that owned Tevez.
Gilbertine or whatever his name was, wasn't it? Kia something, whatever.
Yeah, dodgy bloke.
He part owned him, didn't he?
Yeah, rich dodgy bloke. But so when you look forward, you obviously this afternoon, everybody's team's playing. Who's Man United got this afternoon then, Charlie?
We're away to Fulham. We're on. It's like 7 o'clock tonight. I think we're away. Not looking forward to that. I think Fulham, they've done well this year. I think not many clubs in terms of that. I think only Bournemouth and Forest really you can say like they're flying, aren't they? Them two, and Fulham are having doing well mid-table. looking strong. That's going to be a tricky game down at Craven Cottage. It always
They've
tends to
got a
always
good coach. They've got a good coach for them.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. I think, if we do win, it would be a very scrappy, hard fought. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah, De Silva, isn't it, Stuart? We almost
Yeah.
wanted to. Yeah, we almost wanted to take him on.
I think there was a deal in place for him to come to us.
Yeah.
But when Moyes didn't leave after the Conference Cup win, Moyes stayed. But if Moyes had gone, I think Silva was in place to take over.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right there, Stuart. Who do you think, Stuart? Then, Dougie, what do you think? Man United versus Fulham.
I think it will. Who's at home, Charles?
Fulham.
I think it's a Fulham win, 2 or 3-1.
Stu?
Yeah, I'd probably go with that, a Fulham win. But it all depends on the likes of, I call him Ratman, but Fernandes. You know, if he plays well, then I could see United getting something out of it. You know, but if he has one of his sulky attitudes, hopefully he can get sent off.
I hope not.
Not. And then we're playing this afternoon as well. I think we're a 4:30 kickoff away to Villa.
Yeah, but I'm optimistic for that game because Potter's had all week on the training ground.
Yes.
And the rumours are that Bowen is going to could be on the bench and come on, and Somerville's back. Now, if that's true, I think we could do all right because Villa, watching them the other night in Europe, they look really tired, and they struggled. And I think all the games that they're getting, it's piling up on them. And I think we could get a result up there.
Well,
I'm going to go for a draw.
And we knew that, Stuart, didn't we? When we played in the Europa Conference and the Europa League before, every Thursday, every Sunday, I hate Sunday games.
Well, the year we won the Conference Cup, we was in a 30-odd game relegation battle that whole season.
Always affects your league form.
Yeah.
That Thursday to Sunday, for some reason, always affects teams' league form.
It does.
For whatever reason. It's strange.
Absolutely. Dougie, sorry, Stu, please.
Yeah, mate, I've got a same again, losing 2 or 3-1. Mate, I've got to tell you something, guys, here, right? I've had this conversation with quite a few YouTube channels. Oh, they're tired. They've played in Europe. Mate, when you're a kid and you get up in the morning, you'll meet your mates on the way to school, you'll find a tin can and you'll play football and and you'll put your goals there. You'll play football at dinner time and then on the way home, if in a park or you find your mate. Charlie would have me playing football 24 hours a day. And he used to say to me, dive, Dad. Always in goal, you got to dive. They're playing twice a week, right? Yes, they played 3 games in 8 days. All this money they're on, and you're telling me that these players can't play 90 minutes. We're talking. The other day, it said,
I agree with you. They should be able to do it, you know?
I can't remember who it was. They wear these black bibs now that shows how far they've run. They go, like in 90 minutes, you run 10.2 kilometres. I walk up to the sports centre overnight. All right, it's not exact. I think 10K is 6.4, and I did just under about 9.5K. And I walked that there and back in an hour and a half. You know what I mean? So, most players touch the ball between 1.5 to 2 minutes per game, and yet they're tired. So over 2 games, they're going to be touching that ball between 3 to 6 minutes in 90 minutes. Mate, cyclists go out there and they, cyclists in Tour de France will do 300 miles and the next day get on a bike again. You get tennis players play 5 hours, play the next day again. Stop mollycoddling them. They're paid a good wage and stop. Yes, a little bit of travelling is going to make you tired. But what are they going to do? If they weren't in Europe, they'd be training the next 2 days. No, I've got the ump there. I'm having my say. They're overpaid drama queens.
It's different. They don't.
No, it ain't.
They don't trot around now. They're running at high speed now.
A lot
mate, give me a laugh. Look at the pitches they're playing on. Look at the boots they're wearing.
I think
look at the balls they've got.
The players today is they're athletes.
Yes,
that's what they are. They're so finely and highly tuned that you see yourself, they come on, like they bring a sub on, and if he hasn't actually warmed up correctly, he does one quick sprint, bang, he's down on his arse, his hamstring's gone.
That was our 30 million. Our 30 million forward did that.
They are so finely tuned.
I'm not having that, Stu.
That's the problem. No, you go back in our day, Doug. They were down the pub boozing the night. Look at McAvenny. You know what I mean?
George
He'd be
Best.
down the pub, lashing it up. He'd turn up at 5 o'clock in the morning. He'd be strolling out of a nightclub drunk, and then that afternoon he's kicking a ball around, scoring goals.
Stu, look at the pitches they play on. Right, they're finer than the carpets we have in our house. Look at the ball. The ball's so light now.
Yeah.
Look at their boots. We used to have boots that you wrap the laces around it. The pitches were like a mudlark.
They're not boots that they wear now. They're like bloody slippers.
That's what I think they're half the reason for the injuries.
Yeah, that's
I
what
I think that's what causes half the injuries.
That's why Bowen had his foot done in that Liverpool tackle, you know, the other week. And that's what done his foot, because they don't wear proper boots anymore. They wear these silly bloody slip-on slippers, you know, and the balls are so light, as Arteta will say. Moan that the ball was too light.
Hang on, guys. Oh, Dougie, that was just Bruno Fernandes. He says he's coming on next week's show to show you how much of an athlete he is.
Well, make sure you have a picture of Roland Rat ready.
Mate, Bobby Charlton played all his career, right, running and across, as like Billy Bonds did, through pitches that were quagmires. They were swamps. You got tackled from behind. And Bobby Charlton went all his career with never one serious injury. Never one. Hardly missed a game, as did Billy Bonds. You know what I mean? Getting tackled from behind, kicked everywhere.
Athletes, were they back then?
They didn't used to run that much. Like, compared to today, I think that football back then was different. I mean, all right, the pitches were bad, but I think if you go back watch a game back then, it's almost walking compared to what they do now. I actually watched. I think I watched. It was a podcast with a former Man United fitness instructor under Ferguson, and he actually said that players don't actually get fully fit until the December-January mark. He was like, at the start of the season, he went, no, they're not fit at all, and then they'll kind of tail off towards the end. But he was like, but in terms of full fitness, it takes them quite a few months. It's around the December-January mark, which I think normally you get all their injuries. I think it's all the games in it as well. I mean, look at Christmas time, that schedule's always packed. Any team in Europe is gamed, 3 or 4 days.
But what don't help as well, I think, is the fixture, the way they're done. Sky organised the fixture list. It's down to Sky. I mean, I've got an email earlier. Our game against Newcastle in March has been moved from Saturday to a Monday night. So Sky can show it on the telly. Sky have said, we want that. And they just changed the fixture. And this is after football should be played on a Saturday afternoon. You're right, it's all money. It's all money. And Sky's killed football. The Premier League killed it, I think.
100%. Charlie, as well. Sorry, mate. Could you went to the West Ham Fulham game? Could you tell us what the atmosphere was like?
That was Graham Potter's first game, wasn't it? The atmosphere I thought was quite quiet, and that I think, I thought they it was one of those games where I think the fans kind of wanted, the players to kind of get them going and stuff. I actually thought West Ham would really poor. I thought Fulham gifted them that win. 2 of the goals, I don't know what Fulham were doing. I think West Ham had all West Ham shots on targets led to the goals, but they didn't have a corner. They didn't have a shot off target. They had no block shots. I thought Fulham kind of threw it away. And then I think West Ham played at home against Crystal Palace, didn't they? Which I think if you look at the stats again, I think they must have played very similar. I think you can. I think Villa probably get that win today, but maybe that midweek game might throw Villa off. But yeah, so far, from what I saw with that Fulham game, I didn't think much of West Ham.
What formation did he play, John? Did he change anything when Fulham scored?
It definitely wasn't a 3 at the back. I think people said he's always kind of gone for that 3 at the back, but I did notice at one point when Fulham had the ball in their area, early on in the game, he kind of moved Wan-Bissaka into like centre back for 3 at the back, but I think he was getting caught out a lot. I think it was very more for that 4-2-3-1 afterwards. But you had Carlos Soler, or that wide left, who didn't really seem to want to take his fullback on. Every time he got the ball, he would kind of cut back, wait for that Palmieri, is it to just overlap, or cut it back to like Edison, Alvarez, or that Guido Fernandez, but he didn't want to take a fullback on. Which, if you're a wide player, that's what you want from your wide players, don't it? You want them kind of being a bit more direct. I think you had Paqueta up front, and he was always going to struggle to maybe create chances. So it might be a bit of that. You've not really got a natural striker up front at the moment, but yeah, it's so far, performance-wise.
But Charlie, listen, it was my youngest grandson's first game over West Ham. Tate, is he going to be a West Ham fan?
He says he's a West Ham fan. He does, yeah. He does say
and Barcelona, isn't he?
Well, yeah, I think anyone in claret and blue at this point, apart from Aston Villa or Burnley. So, yeah, West Ham and Barcelona seems to be his two teams, but that's kids these days, isn't it? I think, but you never saw a kid in a foreign top when I was younger, and now it's PSG, Juventus, Milan, Barca, Madrid, anyone but an English team.
Yeah. So just wrapping up, we're on the 30 minutes. Charlie, any other thoughts? You just want to add anything else regarding Man United or anything else?
Charlie, can you talk about the ticket prices, please? Because there's a lot of this going on with the concessions around the grounds, please.
I think Man United are in the same boat as us. They're having everything stripped away from them. The prices are going up. They're sacking people
I think they're obviously the Glazers. I think it was they own the club, and then we had that Ed Woodward in charge for a long time, who famously came out with the quote, we can do things in the transfer market that only anyone can dream of. And look how that turned out. Yeah, we've wasted absolutely millions upon millions. With cost cutting, I mean, they've blamed it on the fact that we've lost 300 million, I think, in the last 3 years, but they've made cut costs. They've stopped paying Alex Ferguson, even though I think a few other ambassadors, they're trying to cut prices. They're trying to run it like a business, but the one thing you don't do is turn it on the fans, don't you? And at the moment, making it £66 for every ticket, regardless of how young you are or old you are, no concessions at all, I think is absolutely disgusting. They did write a letter to the 1958 group and basically explaining that, but making the fans, like, some fans are just going to turn away. They're not going to want to go. Football's too expensive as it is anyway. So
I think that's across the board. I think that's right across the board now with clubs. Everybody's they don't want the fans anymore. They want tourists. Most clubs. Everton are going to suss it next year when they leave their little ground and move into that new ground. All the legacy fans are going to find out that they're not wanted anymore. They're not going to be wanted because it's all about money. It's big business. Football's just going by
I think Arsenal get the most for every home game. I think they get over for it, but I think their ticket prices. I think Arsenal fans have moaned about their ticket prices being the most expensive for quite a while. It's ridiculous. It really is, and fans. These are old fans, especially. They're just going to stop going. Football's expensive enough as it is. I think a massive problem with that is the player prices. I think player prices need to come down massively. But
wages
need to come down.
You signing the youngsters these days for 40 million who hasn't even got a minute of Premier League football. 40 million. We signed Mason Mount with a year left on his contract for 55 million. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then, but all they do is up the prices for the fans. I mean, apparently at West Ham, the prices for beers go up once kickoff starts. I don't know if that's true or not, but
West Ham don't get it. They're not in charge of all the prices on beer or anything like that. It's all by outside companies that run it all. So, I mean, we've got nothing at West Ham, really. There's nothing. It's just a team. We haven't got a ground. We haven't got our own stewards. I mean, because they got rid of all our old stewards from the bowling. So, when we played Arsenal earlier on in the year, a lot of the stewards were Arsenal bloody fans. It just beggars belief, in your own ground, supposedly your own ground, and the stewards in your own ground are the away fans. And it's bullshit, pardon my French.
Well, fans eventually, with the away tickets, fans complained, didn't they, to the point where they capped the tickets for away fans. I think the same needs to be done. I think Aston Villa fans complained about. I think there was a game where it was like £70 they upped the price for a game. And is that now because they're in the Champions League? They think they can up the ticket prices? How can you do that to fans who, for years, watched you as you fought relegation and everything else, and now you've got in the Champions League? You think it's okay to up the prices that much? It's terrible.
Especially when a lot of fans, what they earn a year is what a player earns in 1 week. Do you know what I mean? If you're lucky,
if you're lucky,
to earn that a year, you know, it's.
Since the Glazers took over at Man United, the club was in 750 million debt, $750 million, and they're paying 60 million a year in interest. So far, since the Glazers have been there, they've paid over 900 million in interest. Hence the reason with the FFP now, United have got to sell. That's probably why they've got to sell Garnacho to balance the books.
Which is a shame because I like him actually, Garnacho.
Yeah, he's one of the better players.
I like him. Yeah.
Charlie, one final question. If you could have a West Ham player go to Man United now, who would you take from our team?
T-Lady.
I think I'd go with either Bowen or Kudus. I think that would be my two choices.
You don't want to take Souček?
No. I don't even like him, Souček, apparently. But I think Bowen would be my first choice, if not Kudus. I like Bowen a lot.
Yeah, he left the team. Used to, Stuart and Dougie, who would you take for Man United? To West Ham?
The young lad, Ahmed, I think he's a find of the season.
He's good, and I'll rate him. But I like Garnacho as well. I think he'd do well for West Ham.
Not Harry Maguire?
No.
I'm not allowed to say the word I want to say on here.
I know. You've done really well. So just to wrap it up, but thank you guys all for today's show. A couple of things which I forgot to say right at the beginning. It was like and subscribe. So everyone who's liked the first show, thank you very much. And everyone who's subscribed, we got 37 subscribers on our first show, which went live on the other day. I can't remember what day it was, 2 or 3 days ago. So, our target is to get to that magic 1,000 like everyone else out there on the YouTube world.
It's 100.
Yeah, we'll be delighted. We'll get Dougie to do a forfeit. Well, actually, we'll get Dougie to sing a song if we can get to 100 subscribers, as he is our singing. Anyway, where's your cowboy at?
Yeah, I took my wife to the tapas yesterday instead, and we had a jolly nice first time I've seen my wife smile and have a good day as you boys know, in a long, long time. And Charlie will be out here in May when you guys come out.
Oh, right.
Well, it'll be good to meet up.
Yeah, it will.
So like and subscribe. And Dougie, you wanted to say something a little bit about men's mental health before we...
Yeah, just very quickly, guys. I've had a few people message me privately and said, how did you guys meet? I.e. me, Tony, Stu and I. And we met through a men's mental health group. My wife's been ill for a while, so I've been suffering a little bit. And on me personally, Stu's had a bit of grief, and Tony had a row with a spreadsheet. So we ended up going on a men's health group. I can't tell you the benefits it did. If anyone is suffering out there, you don't need to suffer alone. And if you'd like to join the same group that we are still on, Tony will leave a link below.
Yeah, my safe space. So I'll leave the link in the description, and from there you can find out a little bit more. I think they're still doing like a free 28-day trial. But the cost is £10 a month, which is 2 pints or 2 grande Starbucks coffees. So, substituting that to focus on your mental health is worthwhile. And you got others like Dougie and Stuart and myself on that group.
Male and female, by the way.
Sorry, Stuart.
It's male and female.
Yes, that's a great point. Actually, it's a very good point.
Not just the men's group, it's women as well. Yeah. And
to give you guys a little secret, there's actually a lot more women on there than the men. So
I know.
We could do some. We could do. It's not that type of site, Dougie. Yeah, we could do some. We could do some men on there to bolster the ranks. Thank you very much. But yeah, so we'll leave that link, and it's all kinds of access. Really, really good. We'll get the it's our dear friend James Mannion who runs that channel, who's actually also on that West Ham channel as well. But we'll get James on one of our shows, and he'll explain a little bit more about what it's all about. But on that note, thank you. Please, I can't stress it enough. Please like. Stuart, how would you get someone to like us, get them to subscribe? What would your message be? See, he's trying to tone it down now. He's trying not to be so aggressive.
Yeah. just like and subscribe. You know what I mean? It's hard doing this. You know what I mean? It is hard doing this. So
take some time.
It helps if people like and subscribe. So.
But it's fun. And Charlie, thank you once again. We'll love to have you back.
Nice to meet you, Charlie. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it. I love talking about football, whatever it is. So thanks very much.
We'll love to have you back. Thanks, guys. Goodbye.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
Bye, guys.